Okay, so sitting here, we're taking out some parts from this old GMC van, but most importantly, we're taking out the brackets for the radio, because in the van it doesn't have them. So we just came here to a pick and pull. We're gonna pull them out ourselves. It's literally just a bunch of I believe 7mm screws that fasten it in. You just take those out, and then the whole frame is going to pop out. It's literally just going to be a plastic part, and that's just this frame here. That's all we need. We already have a upgraded head unit that's going to go in there, but it needs somewhere to, secure into so that it's nice and safe. All right, so that's the part removed. It's just a plastic bracket. Once you get all those bolts out, this last one in here is going to be tricky unless you have a ratcheting wrench, which I didn't because I left it in the car, actually at home. So that's all you need, so that way your adapter can fit into this and have something to attach to. So you're gonna need that. So okay, so after a long day, we've got this frame out of the one at the pick and pull, the bracket, and so that allows this part, which is the bracket that comes with gonna come with your head unit, or rather you have to buy that separate, but it's a kit for your head unit to make it fit your slot for the radio. So as I showed you when we removed it, we took all these little screws out. There's a couple in here. After we removed that, it came right out. Got home, popped this in after I got done with the putting the hitch on. Just pop this right in, and then I finger started all these screws so that way I can just tighten them up. But once you tighten them all up, next thing to do is connect your wiring and everything like that, and then install the head unit in there. So I'm gonna get these screws in and then sort out the wires. I already got the wires for the most part sorted out. To go over that a little bit real quick, your wiring here, you're going to want to match up all your wires, of course, color by color, because you have to buy a specific wiring harness adapter, so that way it can just plug right in to this, and then this plugs into your radio. Think of it like a translator for the wiring. So once you get that all done, I have, as you can see here, a bunch of heat shrink on all the wires that are connected, so that nothing's exposed. Once that plugs in, we'll then also plug in our antenna here, which is also connected with an adapter, an antenna adapter. So once we get that all plugged in, the radio will slot into here, and we'll be able to get everything going and start it up and set it all up and all that stuff. But a quick word I want to tell you is about your radio power wires. So now these are gonna come with a power wire, right? That's gonna be this red one here. You can opt to connect that to the red power wire that's coming from the harness. The problem is that when you do that, 9 times out of 10, it's it's going to cause it to where your radio does not turn off when the vehicle is off. In order to get that to fix itself so that it's turning off when the vehicle turns off, what you got to do is you got to connect your power wire not to the harness power. You need to use a fuse tap into one of your fuses, preferably your ignition fuse, and run your power wire from that tap. And then by doing that, it will have your radio tapped into your ignition power. So when you turn the car on, it turns on. When you turn the car off, radio turns off. That way you don't risk killing your battery or anything like that. Especially seeing as how this van isn't going to be driven all the time, not as like a regular day vehicle. So I'm going to, all you got to do to shrink up the heat shrink on here is just use a lighter and just kind of wave it over it, until you see it shrink up. Be careful not to melt it. So I'm going to sort that out, get that all set up, and then plug all this stuff in, and then I'll show you how I ran this power cord to the ignition. Now that we've got all that settled, got all of our wires connected, and the harness is plugged in. As you can see there, it just simply plugs right into the harness that's coming from your radio once you get it in there. Any wires that are unsecured, I have put, some heat shrink on them so that way they're not loose and exposed. Each of them has an individual sleeve, and then I just put a third sleeve to hold them together. So now that we got that all set up, we can just move on to the next step, which is tightening down all these screws, and then popping it in there. And let me show you how we ran the power cable. So what you can see here is that all the other wires go into the harness adapter, and then the harness into the harness adapter into the harness of the vehicle. Now you can see this one independent red wire. That's the wire that's connected to the ignition fuse. It's tapped in. So that just runs behind there. That's just running behind there and under here, all the way into our fuse box. And on our fuse box, you can see we got the wire there that's got that plug on it. And then if you look down here, you see that fuse there that has the little copper piece sticking out of it. That's the fuse tap. The way that goes on is it's got a little slot that slips over one of the little prongs of the fuse, and then it sits flush with the fuse, and you just plug the fuse in. And then you take your attachment, your plug that's for your wiring, take that plug, and it just snaps right onto that copper prong. That's literally all it takes. So you can see just plugs right into that. That's all it takes. Now the downside right now is I can't exactly put this fuse box panel back on here. Reason being is because the wire is just a little bit too short, so I am going to have to get more wire and extend that, or just a longer wire. But as far as functionality goes, that's all it takes. You get that in there. That's running up through the dash into the radio, directly into the radio, not through the harness or harness adapter. But so yeah, it's going to run directly all the way to the harness that goes into the radio. So now all that's left to do is attach our antenna wire via the antenna adapter. All right, got that in there now. Let's get all our wires in there nice, tucked away nicely. Then this is gonna slide right into here. Okay, so that's our head unit is in there. Now let's tighten all these screws, and then I'll show you once we got the screen on there. All right, so everything's wired up. Got all power wire that was running. I ended up having to tap it into the radio fuse because using the ignition fuse, just there's not enough length. It's not working on that one. But it seems to still have a solid on-off switch of its own. So this is the new head unit. Everything's installed nice and clean. Aside from the power wire, there's no ugly wires hanging out. And I showed you it was just as simple as popping this panel off, taking the screws off, screwing it in, and then attaching the wires harness appropriately, of course. All right, on to the next thing. Okay, so this just came in, so we're going to install this real quick. This is a Kurt towing hitch assembly. So this is what bolts on underneath your van or truck, etc., so that you can attach a hitch to this point here, or put like a basket, like we're going to put a basket on here, or tow something, So you got a few different numbers here just to explain these real quick. 16,000 pound gross trailer weight. That means that is the maximum load that this can handle. Like say if you have a trailer attached, it can handle 16,000 pounds, including like all your water supply, gears, and all that. So basically meaning you cannot load it more than 16,000 pounds, or you got to start worrying about, issues with stability. So you got tongue weight. Your tongue weight is that's how much weight is being exerted on your coupler when you have a trailer. So it's going by the 16-pound maximum. It's basically like something 10-15% of what this is always what that's going to be. Weight distribution. This means that this is the improved amount of weight it can handle if you use a trailer hitch adapter. 2,400 pounds WD tongue weight. That's the amount of weight pressure that's being put on the hitch itself. So these two numbers are always they're always gonna like be the same. So that's just a quick rundown to have a little bit of a better understanding of when you pick one of these out, the kind of requirements you need to look for. I'll show you underneath real quick how it's going to go in. But underneath here in the back, and for the van here, it would be where the spare tire would go, which we have a spare tire. We just got to get a tire on it. So you've got your bolt holes here, and these are going to correspond with the bolt holes here. As you can see, like there's this cutout here, and that's to fit around this part here. And then obviously you have the mirror exact thing on the other side. So anyways, what you're going to do is take this bracket, your frame here for the hitch. You're going to bring it up onto here. This is something that's best done if you got like two people. My friend, he can't really get under the vehicle like that, so we're just gonna make it work. I got some carts here with wheels that I can put it up on and kind of roll it in and then just lift it up side by side. So that's how I'm gonna put it in. But basically, you would bring it up to here. You got two different size bolts. One bolt is gonna be 1/2 inch. One is gonna be 9/16, or I assume that's what it's most commonly gonna be. You're gonna bring the bolts in from the top down, and then remember that when you put the bolt in through the top, you're gonna have these rectangular, they're called spreaders. So those are to help distribute the load on the frame here. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna put the spreader, put the bolt in, the bolt's gonna come out of the hole. You're gonna take your locking nut that comes with it. You're gonna get all the nuts that come with it. That's always gonna be the case. And you're gonna bolt it down. And for this one in particular, when we bolt it down, the 9/16 bolts are gonna be bolted down to 150 foot-pounds, and the 1/2 inch bolts are gonna be bolted down to 110 foot-pounds. So once I get everything up here and kind of at least, hand tight up against the frame, I'll come back down here and show you guys, the or how to finish the assembly using your torque wrench. Okay, so I just want to make sure that I'm being extremely clear here that this is a do as I say and not as I do situation. Because it's one of the reasons why I also didn't want to film it, but then I also figured, like, you know what, maybe I should put this and just make sure that I, clarify it to you guys for educational purpose. So I'll show you how I'm doing this by myself right now, which I highly stress, do not do this by yourself. I'm just showing you what I'm doing so that you can basically know what not to do. This is how I'm doing it because I'm by myself. So I have the creeper here, which the creeper folds up to like a bench style. And then I have another folding bench over here that's holding the other side. Now this brings it up literally just a few inches from the frame. So it'll be pretty easy once I lift this one up and get it, hand tight bolted in. I'll be able to move this cart out and literally just slide it across this bar here onto this side so it can be lifted up a little bit closer, and then I can bolt that side in. But again, I'm just showing you guys what I'm doing. I'm 100% telling you don't do it this way because you don't know what could happen. This could fall, anything. This is just some little folding stool. You don't know how strong it's going to be. I do because I own these. But all right, so we got the frame put on. As far as getting the bolts on there finger tight, so here we got these. You can see the finger tight, so they still need to be torqued down with the torque wrench. What I'm going to do first though is take these off one by one and put the thread locker on it. And I'm using the blue Loctite. It's the medium strength, so it means that if you ever need to take this off, it can be removed, with just using like a breaker bar. If you use the red stuff, you'll have to use like a torch to heat it up before wrenching it off. So we're gonna put the thread locker on each one of these, and then torque it down, and I'll show you how to do that. All right, so we're getting ready to torque all these down here, and I just want to give you a little information about the torque wrench. And before I show you how to do that, I'll explain what I did here with the thread locker. I just simply took each of these nuts off one by one, saturated the thread, screwed it on. Now, the torque wrench I'm using is this one. It's kind of a newer model one where you pull this tab and turn it, and then that adjusts it. Your other one that you might get is one like this, where the handle looks like that, and in order to set this, you would loosen this knob and then turn this until you meet the number you're at, and then tighten that down. The reason I don't like that one as much is because it's there's too much chance for the dial to kind of move while you're using it, whereas this one really locks in place a lot better. So to explain how to set this, I'm going to show you here. You got Newton meters and you got pound feet. Now, the way you set this is, let's say you need 50 pound feet. You're going to bring it till it meets this bottom line that meets up to 50. See the notch there? You want your 0 to line up with this center line, and the base of this seam to match up with this bottom 50 line. So I'm gonna pull this down and just rotate it till we get up to that 50 line. So now we're at 50. See how that lines up? So let's say we need 55. We're going to simply go from the 0 that we're at. See? We're going to pull this down. We're going to turn this till the 5 lines up with that line. Right there. So let's see if I can see that, how that lines up there with the line. So now that's at 55. So what we need to do. And also something that I should tell you about torque wrenches: when you're done using them, completely decompress them, take them all the way down to 0, because they have a very precision spring inside of them, and if you leave them set on a certain pound feet, it's going to affect the spring and affect their overall accuracy of the torque wrench, because it's, you know, compressing that spring for so long. It's a precision tool. You got to treat it as such, and don't use this to, you know, as an actual, you know, ratchet. You want to use this for its purpose. Now these are already taken down pretty much all the way, but actually let me snug these up a little bit with my wrench. We're going to use the adjustable to get this thing tightened down all the way first. I have to move this light. Alright, let's move this light up the way over here. We're going to tighten this down so it doesn't tighten anymore. Alright, so bring that down all the way. Get this one secured in there. And while Loctite doesn't dry super fast, you know, you do want to kind of be considerate of how long you're taking to get to fastening things, because you do have some kind of time limit on, you know. I'm going to tighten up the rest of these, just like how I was just showing you. And then once I'm done doing that, we'll come back and I'll show you me, you know, tightening them with the torque wrench. All right, so we got the other 3 tightened up and torqued down to spec. So now we're going to do these ones. We got a 122 millimeter socket, then we got 2 19s are the other ones. So we've got our torque wrench set at 150. See how the 0 is lined up in the center and the base is lined up with the notch at 150. So we're going to wrench this down, and don't be afraid if you're like, damn, it seems like I got to turn this really hard. Like, you're not over torquing it until the wrench tells you that you're to, you know, exactly to how much it needs to be. You're fine. And you'll see when it gets to 150, it's gonna click, and the whole, you know, the whole shaft is gonna just click like that. That's when you stop. Here we go. 150. So now we're gonna bring this down to 110. Okay, we're at 110. 19 millimeter. It's 110. Okay, so we've got all of our bolts and everything, or our nuts, excuse me, torqued down to spec. Everything's secure. Ain't nothing going nowhere. Alright, so I'm going to put this basket on and then show you what it looks like with the basket on, and that'll be it. We'll move on to the next thing.